Ladies and gentlemen, open the phone lines up for one of your favorite rappers, producers, photographers, activists, entertainers, the one and only, the magnificent D-Nice, ladies and gentlemen. D-Nice! They call him D-Nice!
Yeah, I wish I could be there to give you a hug, bro. Like, that was an awesome intro. And I'm so glad you told Rich to stay on. What up, Rich? What's up, Heather?
What
What's
up,
up, bro?
D?
Oh, man. Nah, I'm good, man. This is beautiful, man. Thank you, man. Thank you. It's been a crazy journey.
Yo, D, it's been a crazy journey, man. But I get chills because, unbeknownst to you, you're showing folks how to live, how to strive during these chaotic times. Your creativity served as medicine for us. It was therapy for us. I can't tell you how many times I would chime in the club quarantine just to feel good. I know you've heard all these stories from everyone, but it's important that we continue to tell them. And then also you're an inspiration to people who come from your peer group. So someone like me who watched you from the beginning really exercise what this culture has meant to us and transcended it and been able to just consistently reinvent D-Nice. And I don't know if it's reinvention or you just keep introducing other things that we just didn't know about over the years consistently, man. And I know a lot of us that started with us, D, lost the spark. You know, maybe they got beat down by the industry. Maybe, something didn't turn out right with their artistry. Maybe whatever, life situations pulled them away from it. But you keep going, man. I'm curious too. What is the inspiration? Like, what is that hook that gives you the wherewithal to know I gotta pivot, I have to grow, I have to move past this and embrace that? What is that?
Well, I mean, just to keep it 100% honest, always, it goes back to my BDP days, right? And I just remember not being a part of the group, and people definitely, like hip hop people, not clearly it wasn't women. Like, I've always had like this nice women following, and they always been like supportive no matter what I did, which is so crazy. But like with my BDP days, I remember this moment of like looking on the back of one of the album covers, and KRS was just like, "Yo, D-Nice is not down with BDP," and then I had a situation with Jive where they wanted me to make records because like Puff and everybody was out and they had their sound. They wanted me to kind of have that sound, but that wasn't me. So then I was shelved and I couldn't make records anymore. Like I couldn't get out of the deal. I didn't have enough money to get out of the deal. And then people started to consider me old school. And I was like 22 years old, where I just didn't even understand, how are you old school at 22? And then I couldn't afford to get out of the deal. So my whole thing since those days were I was never going to put myself in a position where someone controlled who I was and who I was going to become. And I just never wanted that. Never wanted a deal like that ever again. Never had a deal like that ever again. Never had a deal after that in terms of like music. And that feeling of old school just always left me like feeling like negative about the music industry. But when I really look at what that feeling was, I wouldn't be here right now. You know what I mean? Like, I wouldn't be doing what I'm doing right now. I had to go through that. I had to be told that I was old school in order for me to just not want to be stuck just being one thing, just being a rap artist. And also our friend, God bless him, man, Chris Lighty was another one who, when I started to want to get back into like rapping, he challenged me. He was like, "Yo, there's so much more to you. Why do you want to just do that? Like, you don't have to do that. You did that already. Like, what about all of these other things that you can do?" And that was a challenge to me. And that was it was just the best advice, man. Not to say don't rap ever again, but it was like, yo, why not do all of these other things where you can still express your love for music? Which is why I became a web developer and photographer. When I was building websites, I built big websites, and it was my company. I built the Diary of Alicia Keys. I was doing online marketing for G-Unit, for the G-Unit sneaker, and I photographed 50's Reebok campaign. I was doing all these things, man. I was a featured photographer on America's Next Top Model, and then I fell in love with DJing. And I fell in love with DJing because for all of those years, like I would see Rich in like Jersey we play cards, we play spades. You know what I mean? Like I wasn't even thinking about rapping. We were just playing spades with like Bink Dog and all these different people, and I wasn't going to parties. But the first time I went out to a party, like after like nearly like a decade, because nobody was rocking with me like that, was a Q-Tip party, and Q-Tip and like Mark Ronson were DJing, and I just stood there and I just couldn't believe what they were playing. I was like, wait, you could be like a rapper DJ now? And I just fell in love with the music all over again, and I haven't looked back since.
Wow, you definitely haven't looked back, because I was in Jersey with y'all playing spades, killing you on the spades table. You left that part out the story tonight.
Wow.
He left that part out. I was cool though.
I was trying to intentionally leave that part
out. Everyone's entitled to their narrative.
Hey D, your story is I get chills talking to you because you're my brother, and to see what you've been able to do with a lot of us. Rich Nice, Heather B, Tracy now too, been in the game a long time, and we found our different ways of reblossoming. Not even reblossoming, but doing what we doing. Do what we do. Follow our passions, follow our heart, and it works. And now when you did Club Quarantine, this is different though, man. This ain't charting on the Billboard. This is something different, man. This is charting on the global charts. This is everybody's around the world is chiming in the Club Quarantine. And this past year, man, I know this is a hard question, but what's one of the highlights that you still kind of are flabbergasted about, that, damn, I cannot believe this is happening in my life, this person or this event?
This highlight is probably not going to mean much to people, but it's the moment that meant something to me, and it actually had nothing to do with being on Club Quarantine. It had everything to do with Club Quarantine, and it was a birthday Zoom for Lenny S. And I was on the Zoom, and everyone was on the Zoom. Jay, Puff, Dave Chappelle. Like, it was just this crazy Zoom. And the entire, like for about 5 minutes, Jay now this was early Club Quarantine, so it was like smoking hot, and Jay just kept going back to my Zoom screen, like, wait, hold on, let me find Derek. He kept swiping back to me, and then he was like, so how does it feel? And I didn't know how to answer that, because I was like, I've been DJing Sway, you've been to my parties, you know what I'm saying? Like, so I've done hot parties for a long time. Jay was like, no, don't say it like that. I'm really asking you, how does it feel? He was like, you're hot. You've been hot before, but this is a different kind of hot. And there was part of me that wanted to be offended, but then the other part was like, yo, maybe he's actually telling the truth, because I didn't recognize it. Remember, I've just been DJing, and I wasn't even leaving the house. So that was a moment when I actually started like reading articles, and I Googled it, and I was like, yo, this is wild that it touched so many people like all over the world. This wasn't just a hip hop thing. This was like a global thing, to where people fell in love with music, and in particular, most of the music I play is R&B soul. And people fell in love with that all over again. Like people now talk about Sister Sledge all over again, and like all of these classic records. And that is probably the best feeling in the world, is being able to reintroduce that kind of music to people, and also music that was inspired by that. So to play the Anderson .Paaks and to play these records that gives you that feeling that makes your soul smile, man. It's been my mission to continue playing that vibe, and it's just been beautiful, bro.
Make your soul smile. You got Jay-Z asking you what this is amazing, man. What it feels like to be hot, and that feeling to be hot, I think, is like your first hit on a pipe, or your first shot, damn near, of tequila without the effects. Minus what it does to you, but the to be hot in this game is a special kind of feeling. Like, to walk outside and know that the world knows my name, to walk outside and know that the Obamas are on my Instagram. I think it's amazing. I want to say congratulations to you. I want to talk about the new music, No Plans for Love, and what you're about to do with this album. You're coming 360 back to the music, where you're making music, or you're part of making music. But I want to let Heather B and Tracy and Rich ask you some questions too. H Bizzles, D Nice, it's the homie.
I know. Well, it's hard for me, and thank you, Derek, so much for calling into
I
the
love
show.
you, Heather.
I love you too. Derek and I have known each other since we were both 17 years old. So let's
Yeah,
start
it's
there. We
crazy.
were 17. We were teenagers around Chris. I had literally just graduated from high school, and I was coming in around Derek and Chris, and rest in peace, Miss Melody. Rest in peace, Willie D. Kenny Parker, who is Chris's brother and my producer. I was just coming around, and I was brought in as family. So you fast forward all of these years later. This was in 1988. So you fast forward all of these years later, and me and Derek saw each other, I think it was maybe last year at Ty Law's, ironically. I was just talking about him this morning. At
Yep.
Ty Law's Hall of Fame, Derek was DJing for Ty's Hall of Fame party. And we just started laughing. We were both like, what you doing? Just laughing. It's like, I'm proud of you. I'm happy for you because I'm just going to be real. Not that many people have an opportunity to stay this long in it and operate at a high level. I'm not saying that you can not be in it, but this game can be so vicious and so spiritually damaging that it could just wipe you out, and you can't really function anymore, not at the level that God gave you the potential to function at. And so to fast from the time somebody is 17 and you run into somebody at 48, 49 years old, your friend, the person who you kind of got in it with, and you see them. I'm Heather B. People know me from radio and real world and shit, and Derek is DJing the thing, the master ceremony. It was like we just had to laugh and give each other a hug. It was just, it's amazing.
Nah,
So
no
I'm
doubt.
happy for you, and God bless you, and may God continue to bless you, because it's a blessing to think about at the age of 17 and to now, and then still to be operating like this, and survive all of those slippery slopes and all of the verbal and different attacks. It's not easy. It is not easy.
Nah, it's not. It's not easy, man. It still hurts sometimes. I'm not gonna lie to you.
Mm-hmm.
I mean, just recently, I like took a break, man. I share this because I like being honest with people, man. I had to jump off because I woke up one morning and I was just in tears, for like 3 hours of like crying. And it's not about being soft. It's none of that, man. It's emotionally draining, like what this year has been for all of us, and not even just the year, man. From my whole career, it's like
Mm-hmm.
always been like this constant battle of like trying to prove like, no, you're not going to put me in this box. I'm not going to be there,
Mm-hmm.
and that was from the music, that was from, the record company signing me for like the ridiculously low amount, and then still didn't believe in me. And then I went through that on the website, and then as a DJ, forget about it. Like I had to like work these budgets to where I had to kind of fit in, you know what I'm saying? Because I didn't quite fit in on the hip hop side. Look, most of the hip hop DJs that I'm actually cool with now, their teams didn't want me to open up. They're like, nah, you're old school hip hop. No, and I'm that old school anything always got to me, and it was like, no, I'm a DJ. So then I went the other route. I went the pop route and found my way in, and then came back to the urban side. But the one thing that's always like bothered me was that even though I was like in doing like Vegas and I'm playing like all these private events, it was like, yo, I wanted to put music out. I'm just going back into this because you're gonna bring it up anyway. But I want you to know how important this music is to me. Was that all of the dudes that were number one DJs in the world, they were all making music with artists that look like us, but then there were no DJs that look like us making these same records. And
Yeah.
I was like, yo, that's what I want to do. I want to make records. I want that level. And I'm not rapping on anything. This is strictly a DJ project. And also the beauty of it is, man, I'm 50 years old. I don't run
Mm-hmm.
from that. I tell people I'm 50. And to be relevant in this business after all of these decades doing different
Mm-hmm.
things and to still be relevant at 50 is a blessing, and I hope it serves as a source of inspiration for people that I came in the game with. Like, yo, don't let anyone limit who you are. I know it's
Mm-hmm.
easy to say that, and it's hard to live by it, and I'm telling you, it really was hard to live by it. I turned 50 during the pandemic, which meant that I wasn't going to be, I wouldn't have the consistency of like being in the clubs the way that I was for the last, 15 to 16 years once that momentum stopped, it was like when the pandemic is over, like, what are they going to hire me now? Like, what's going to happen? And those are all of the things that I was facing during this time of turning 50 during the pandemic. And that's why I started DJing online. And it was just a way to, like, get my mind off of it. And it turned into this thing, man, to where no people no longer look at my age. I mean, there are kids that dressed up as me for Halloween. You know what I mean? Like 8-year-olds, and like it's a thing. And I know it's an important thing, and it's important to just be that source of inspiration, man. So I feel truly humbled by this.
Love it, man.
That's
Tracy,
beautiful.
you want to jump in there?
Absolutely, man. Thank you for being so generous with sharing your journey, D Nice. I'm wondering, because you said there were so many people who didn't understand or who unconsciously or consciously attempted to stifle your growth, and then now there's a difference. Maybe they've evolved, maybe just the times have changed so they can understand exactly what you bring to the table. How do you befriend them, keep it cordial, when possibly in the back of your mind you like, man, back then you wasn't even trying to be near me?
I don't hold it against anybody, man. Like, honestly, sometimes I know what people do when they are probably feel insecure, you know, like you guard yourself, or you feel like, hey, your thing is number one, you protect it. I just knew that I wasn't, now that I have the opportunity to help others, it's important for me to do so, you know, like, so even with me and my DJ and my following, you know, on social media alone, it was always important for me to bring in other DJs as well, like to give someone else a shot. You know, so like it's never just me on my page. Sometimes I rock with Clark Kent, or, you know, the Originals, or DJ Sophia, you know, DJ Millie. Like I just bring people on and give people a shot, man, because I know what that feeling is like. And like, yeah, like I don't hold anything against anyone. It's probably because where I am now spiritually, where I know that you had to go through those barriers. I needed to feel everything that I felt in order to do what happened. Like, for instance, like when the pandemic hit, I wasn't with my family. I wasn't with my kids. My young daughter was going to school in Michigan. My oldest daughter, law school in Pennsylvania. And, you know, my mom lives in New York, and I wasn't dating anyone. So I was literally in Los Angeles by myself. Wow. And when this thing started happening, it was because I was alone. You know what I mean? Like, I was alone, and I needed to do that. That's where I needed to be. And I looked at it from that way. Like, I could have jumped on a plane during the pandemic. You know, there were people still being reckless and flying. I just chose to stay and sit there. And part of the frustration was, like, my home wasn't set up right, you know, because I was traveling so much for DJ gigs that I didn't have a piece of art on the walls. I didn't have any plants. And then I was home by myself. I wasn't in a relationship. And I'm sitting there alone in L.A., the place that I've always wanted to live. But I had no family out there, or out here, rather. But that was so important with this journey, because any of those other things would have been a distraction from the purpose that I was supposed to serve, which was to bring joy to the world and to inspire people. So, like, I can't hold a grudge against anyone that treated me any kind of way, because they were a part of the journey. And for me to, like, be mad at them would mean me not understanding the journey, or being, you know, upset at where I am in this journey. And I'll be honest with you, I'm not upset at all. I'm like, yo, I'm here for a reason. So it's all good.
Amen.
Man, D Nice is here, man. I came up with about 10 follow-up questions from stuff you've been saying, but I know we only got a short period of time.
I thought you was going to ask him, was any dishes in his sink doing that.
Oh, come on, man. Come on. Like, D, let me ask you this, man. Hold up. Let me ask my brother this, man, real quick, D. We in the 50 gang, right? And so it's interesting that you single, I'm single. I don't know if you're single now. D Nice, I mean not D Nice.
Yeah, I am.
Okay, so Rich Nice is too, and we're all men who live alone. And hey, D, I got a maintenance person now, an organizer that comes in and hooks my stuff up. So the night before she came over, I had a few dishes in the sink.
2 nights.
Okay, 2 nights. I have a few dishes in the sink for 2 nights. From Friday night, she coming Sunday morning, bro. I'm paying her to come, so I just left the dishes in the sink for her to clean. What would you do?
Oh no, I can't leave dishes in the sink, man.
Oh,
I'll be honest
all
with
right,
you.
all right,
Told
hold
you.
on.
You know,
Okay, that's why I beat you in spades. Rich, go ahead, ask him a question. Go ahead, Rich, ask him a question. Go ahead, Rich.
All right. Well, D, first, I want to congratulate you on the journey because, many of us Bronx guys in the business have seen the early days of hip hop by default, just living in the Bronx. And there's really only a few of us Bronx guys left that's around that's seen the beginning days. I definitely want to say big shout to Scott LaRock and Baby Chris. They both are smiling on you, brother. They smiling at you right now. They smiling on you.
yes, sir.
And I remember that first day when you was on IG and just talking, speaking about how much you miss your friends and your family. And I was on there, and everybody chatting, and you started playing music just out of your laptop. Just trying to make sense of the COVID-19, and it was a real sincere moment. It wasn't 1,000 people in the room. It was really like just the core people that that kind of rock with you. And
Yep.
you was playing music out the computer, and it was cool. Everyone was laughing. It was cool. And then I had to go. I left to do some stuff in the house. And then Aisha texted me an hour later and said, D is DJing on IG. And I'm like, DJing? What do you know? He's playing music on his computer. And then I came back, and you had a full-blown DJ set, like everything, the whole equipment, and you was rocking, and it blew my mind. Speak to what pushed you in that direction to say, you know what, I'm going to just set the whole setup, and we just going to go,
So what happened was when I woke up that morning, the very first day I woke up that morning. Once again, I'm an emotional dude. I was an emotional wreck during this quarantine, and I was in tears, bro. Like I was in tears, and because I didn't know what life was gonna look like. You know what I mean? Like when this was over, because my friends that work in politics that used to work the former administration, that the Michael Blakes of the world, who I would speak to, and he was just like, I mean, it all made sense. He said, yo, this thing is not going to be 2 months the way they're saying. This is going to be for a year. We don't even have a cure. Like, we don't have anything. It's not even under control. So knowing that was, like, very frustrating. It was like, man, you could spend your whole life working hard to provide for your family, but you can never prepare for a pandemic. Like, we weren't really prepared for this. So, like, being an artist, that's why I do a lot of things for other artists, because I'm like, yo, I know what that feeling was like, what I was facing. Everything that I invested in was tanking. It was just bad, man. It was bad. So when I got up that morning, I wiped away the tears, bro, of frustration, and I went into my living room, and I sat at the counter, and I opened up my laptop, and I went live, and I just started playing music and sharing stories. I saw a video from the first day, like like a week ago, someone that saved it and sent it to me, like, yo, I think you should have this. And I wasn't DJing at all. I was just sharing stories. There was like 240 people in there. Yeah. And I received a call on that 2 days later, so that Thursday from Will Packer, the producer. And Will Packer kept going like, yo, I'm coming to your club tonight. Now, I didn't have any turntables hooked up. I was just like, yo, what are you talking about? He was like, yo, everybody's talking about your club. That's the place to be. I'm coming in tonight. What time are you jumping on? And I was like, wow. I was like, all right, cool. I was like, all right, I'll be on like 6 o'clock. I called Clark Kent up, and I called DJ Clark Kent, and I was like, bro, yo, this really feels like a club, like a thing. And Clark said, well, maybe you should actually DJ now. So if Clark didn't say those words, I wouldn't have DJ'd. And this is how crazy it is. I tried using the gear that I had in my house, but they were old turntables and an old mixer. Well, the turntables were good. The mixer was old. So the mixer didn't work with my current version of Serato. It was like the old Serato mixer, S7. So I rushed out to Guitar Center, and I made it there 10 minutes before they closed for the pandemic, like for that 2-month period. Like, if I waited any longer, I would not have been able to DJ, which is so crazy. Like,
wow.
Because Clark said, you should actually DJ. I made it there to Guitar Center just before they closed, and then I came back, hooked that controller up, and I started DJing from the counter. And that, I don't know, man, it was just crazy. Like, the energy was crazy. The next night was crazy. Like, the next night was the Friday night. The Friday night was better to me, even though the Saturday night, it was, over it. It said 100,000, but really what it
way more than that.
Millions of people. Yeah. Because it was millions of people in there, and like that Friday night was like 20,000 people, which was a couple of 100,000 people in there that had been in there, but it was so dope because it was people that weren't following me, that like Drake or like J-Lo or The Rock, like, but it was celebs, but it was like still fun party. I mean, the next night it was like every celeb was in there, you know what I mean? But like that night was like having a party, and then all of a sudden you're at your table, and all of a sudden Drake walks in, and you're like, oh, yo, Drake is in here. Like, yo, that's crazy. Like, it was just a good vibe, man, and I still find joy in that whole first week and how it really happened from 247 people, man, with me just playing music to what it became like less than a week later, man. It was beautiful.
It was awesome, man. And I just want to thank you personally, because you may not remember it, but I was on and you shouted me out on the timeline, and then my followers went up. Thank you, D-Nice.
You know
I
what?
appreciate it.
Wow.
I loved every time I saw your name in there. It made me happy, bro. Like, it really did, man.
Come on, man. We
The
family.
fact that we all pretended to be in a club.
Right.
Like, yo, Sway, I'm gonna send you, Heather, I'm sending you 2 bottles. So Rich, there's no room for you at Sway's table. Come to my table.
Well, I think too what's dope about it is, like, I have a sister that's 27 years old, and she obviously, when 17, she wasn't born when I was 17, 18, and when she was like, oh my gosh, I'm listening to D-Nice in Club Quarantine. I was like, Derek? She's like, do you know about him? I just wanted to laugh. I was just like, yo, oh my gosh.
Wow.
Here's this girl who grew up in the Poconos and in Pennsylvania and just doesn't know about self-destruction and all of these. Like, she doesn't know, like, your history. So I think it's also dope that not only your peers were representing for you, but this whole newfound group of like 20-somethings is like, oh, do you know about D-Nice? Let me put you on to somebody. It was the funniest shit in the world, but I think it's dope too that you were able to just pick up this whole new generation of people to appreciate what you've been doing all your life and how you've refound your appreciation for it.
It is crazy. That part is the wildest thing to me, that it touched generations, but it also goes to respecting their music as well. Like, because I play their music, like, I remember one night, like, Sweetie was in there. This was probably about a month ago. She was just in there, and it was just a day where I was playing like mad 90s R&B hip hop up until like 2005, Blow the Whistle and all that. And she was in there, for like 2 hours. She just kept typing like, yo, this party is really hot. Like,
it's funny.
Yo, it just made me laugh because I'm like, yo, because we respect their music, though. The same way, like, I listen to you guys. We respect their music the same way I love 90s hip-hop or 80s hip-hop. It's like, yo, that's someone's craft.
Yeah.
Like, yo,
there
like,
you go.
Like, even though you didn't ask me how I felt about that one record with the dude that sounded like Eminem, I was actually fascinated because I was listening to it, and I thought his storytelling was dope, and I thought it was extremely dramatic, and it did sound like him. I'm not gonna lie, because I was like, damn, is this him?
Yeah.
And I was like, and I was kind of waiting for him to rap on it, like maybe that's what it is. But then but he never came, so I still actually like the record, and that's just how I feel about music. It's like, if it feels good to you, then you should play it, or you should appreciate it. Like, I don't knock anyone. So when I see like SZA in my IG or Ari Lennox, and then she's chatting with Melba Moore, like, that's wild to me. That I've been, I've created this virtual space that people just feel comfortable communicating with each other, no matter how young or old, man. And it's beautiful to see.
It is. It's amazing. We got D-Nice here and Rich Nice, and we got another special guest. I'm going to introduce him in a second, who usually does his segment at this time. The one and only Mike Muse, ladies and gentlemen. Mike Muse. Mike.
Hey. Yo.
Oh, man, Mike.
Everybody know Mike Muse.
Mike is my guy, man.
So proud of you, D-Nice, man.
Yes.
Like, I always leave you comments on your post, man. It's just that we're celebrating the wave with you, and it's like your joy is our joy. And just to see you take it as far as you have gone and even further, man, it just lights me up every time. And I think I was in that second IG live of yours
Yes, you
and
were.
then the third in the beginning. And so to see it expand to where you're on stage at like the Emmys, right? Super Bowl. I mean, commercials. It's so awesome to see, man. I'm so proud of you, sir.
Man, I
Yeah.
love you, brother, and
Yeah.
I feel like I'm the DJ version of Mike Muse because Mike is everywhere.
Yeah, he
Everyone
is.
loves Mike. I would see Mike on planes. And we would always have fantastic conversation, and Mike would always smile, man, and make me smile as well, man. So I appreciate your brotherhood, bro. Like seriously, man.
This
Of
is
course, I love
Yo,
it.
this
Yo,
is like D
that-
Nice. This is your life. Like he
yo,
is everybody from different phases of his life.
Right.
I was about to say this is like the end of the Wiz when everybody shows up at the D Nice is Dorothy. The D stands for Dorothy. Hey, D, let me ask you this.
Dorothy.
Let me ask you this too, because when I look at, let's say, a DJ Khaled who's had a lot of success as a DJ, putting together, compiling these collections of work, I say a collection of songs with different artists and doing a lot of collaborations and creating these things. Most recently, Fat Joe and Rihanna and DJ Khaled, with that light joint. You look at Flex. Flex put together a project, and he reached out to a lot of the kids coming up in the Chicago scene, a lot of the drill MCs, a lot more street guys that he put together a project. We've all done that as, DJs or in the DJ affiliations. You got this new single, No Plans for Love. It's featuring Neo. It's featuring Kent Jones, and it's a full-length album coming soon.
Yeah.
I want to hear your vision, man. What's your vision for this project?
So the vision isn't for it to be like a compilation project, you know what I mean? And it is to do what Flex is doing with like drill MCs, and it is to do what Khaled has been able to do. My vision of what I'm doing is I need it to feel like my set. So it's not going to feel like a Khaled project, which is dope for Khaled. A lot of MCs and singers. My thing is I love R&B. I love R&B and soul. So my whole vision is to work with like artists like that rock R&B, like rock disco vibes, like the Neos of the world, the Brandys of the world, and that kind of vibe, like, and also the younger cast that are interested in doing it. I can't really tell you. We're like 7 songs deep, and it's like a really good mix of like, it's like 3 new artists, 3 new in terms of like having records out, you know what I'm saying, like on their first album. And then I got like some icons on the joint, man, and it's, I'm waiting to hear back from this one superstar that's writing this one project, this one song. I'm trying to leave that person's name and gender out because it really is going to be a feeling of like excitement. It feels like Clark Kent said this to me the other day when he was just listening to the record. And he called me. He was like, "Yo, you made the perfect record for Club Quarantine, for like your audience." And it's not a Club Quarantine project. It just needed to feel like the way that I play music. And I always felt like I tried to best represent like R&B soul from multiple generations, like the way that I grew up listening to music. And even the song with Neo and Kent Jones is the lead producer on it. I co-produced that, and Neo was the first artist that I ever wanted to work with. I'm not making this up, man. Like I was DJing like Neo events like maybe around 9 years ago for his foundation. And I had to build up the courage to ask him, like, "Yo, would you consider doing a song with me?" And he was the first person to say, "Yeah, nah, let's do it. Like, let me know." Like, he never said no, and that gave me like a source of inspiration to like aspire to want to make music because I asked him. Now, every other artist that I asked after that was like, give me the pat on the back, like, put a record out first and let me know. Like, but
still, man, still.
But Neo was the first person. He was the first person, man. And when this record was demoed and everything with Kent singing, I didn't know that LA reached out to Neo. He didn't know that I already had this conversation with Neo back in the day, and that is the one person that I wanted to work with. So when I heard him on the track, man, it was just like, I just felt good about it. I felt like all of those things that I wanted to do in my career, has all of a sudden is just aligned right now. You know, like I'm pretty much known for playing R&B at this point. You know, like that's just my vibe. You know, and to have him on like the first single and to have these other artists that are contributing to the project is just it's just dope, man. And you know, it's gonna. What I feel is this: it'll do for me and DJs and artists like myself justice and inspire us, because the thing about Khaled is consistent success. You know, Flex has been doing his thing for a long time, and he hasn't put out an album in a while, but like he's been doing Flex for a long time. I'm the dude that's like, oh my gosh, oh shit, this dude came out of nowhere. Really, people don't know that I've been doing all of these other things behind the scenes, but it's like, it's a good way for other artists like me and for my generation to see, like, yo, time doesn't matter, man. It's the only thing that matters is good music and consistency.
Amen.
And that is important, bro. Like, I really hope to inspire my generation, man.
Good time doesn't matter. That's a quote. The only thing that matters is good music and consistency, man. You already inspiring, bro. You're cross generationally. You're inspiring. I can't wait to hear the project. Are you gonna? This might be too much in terms of sequencing. Are you gonna blend the songs in, or are you gonna have them? You know.
I thought about that. I thought because what happens is this: like on like a lot of the EDM records, those big compilations, they have the tracks individually, but then at the end there's a mix, like one, you know, 2-hour mix that's on there as well. So that is an idea to do something like that. The only thing is with EDM, it's pretty much like the same tempo. These are the tempos of the songs that I'm doing they're various, because there's a song with said artist that's like a ballad, like, you know what I mean? But it still feels good. But it's like, because I have like this separation in my DJ sets, Club Quarantine to Club Quarantine After Dark, people know I love playing slow songs as well, so I have that on there. And it's just fun. I guess I just got to figure out how to do it to make it kind of cohesive. But like, yeah, it would be super dope to have like a mix on the project.
Man, I can't wait to hear that Mariah Carey track you've been talking about.
I didn't even say anything about that.
Oh, okay, all right. I'm just throwing it out there. I don't know, man. I'm just guessing off the. You like that, Mike Muse? I just threw it out there to see what happened.
That was smooth. The nice is too quick.
Yeah.
He was way.
I'm like,
whoa. What you talking about?
He was way ahead of me on that one.
That's a way superstar. I don't know if I can pull that one. I don't know if I can get her.
You could.
I didn't agree or deny.
You want to get a Halle Berry interlude?
Halle Berry interlude. Hold on. We got Bishop on the line from Nebraska. Grand Risings, Bishop. You want to say anything to D Nice?
Hey, what's going on, Sway, Heather B, Tracy? I want to congratulate D Nice on his success. But I just got a question from all the DJs in the world. They all got the same question. How is he able to go that long without getting knocked off of Instagram? That's the only question we got.
Yo.
That's all I have.
That's a great question.
I still get flagged. I don't want people to think I don't get flagged, man. I don't know, man. Like, I've just been lucky, I guess.
Is it something just because the celebrities was all there and they just like, hey, let's just keep this thing rocking, don't cut him? Because, I mean, every DJ in the world has been trying to go through Instagram and they get popped 5-10 minutes in and, boom, we're,
Now, there are other people that play. I mean, Jazzy Jeff plays. Like, there are a bunch of people that play. I go in there, I see Brian Michael Cox DJ, and I don't think it's a D-Nice thing, man. Like, I'm being honest with you. I don't think it's a D-Nice thing. I also believe that what happened in the beginning was incredibly special. And, like, maybe, people made it happen because it was such a good thing happening for people at that time, But I get flagged all the time, bro. Like, people I just don't make an issue out of it. A lot of people make issues out of it. Me, I'm just like, yo, I get flagged. I'm like, all right, I'll try to go back on and play again. Like, let's go. I won't play that song again. You know what I'm saying? Like, I know what I can play and cannot play.
There you go.
I appreciate it.
Hey, Bishop, that was a great question.
Yep.
Hey, Bishop, I'm sorry they kicked you off, man. I know why you asked that question. You sound like they kicked you off.
Wow.
I got to get my celebrity stats up.
Okay. All right, man. You're a citizen, brother.
Sway in the morning.
I just took a guess on that, but I figured that sounded like one of those questions of, man, why they kicking you off? I'm not kicking you off, and they kicking me off. that sounded like one of those questions. But let me tell you what that did. That did spur a lot of questions. And Mike, maybe you could speak to this in regards to the FCC and these digital streaming platforms and Facebook and everybody. It was kind of a gray area. And there was a movement called Let the DJs Play. It had nothing to do with you, D-Nice, but a lot of DJs at that time, all they had was the social media platforms to get exposure, to create activity, to create money, and they were getting kicked off. So they felt like DJs were feeling like, man, we're all getting shut down. What are the rules? How does this happen? And it's forced people to really sit down and have that discussion. True, Mike Muse?
Absolutely, and just in short, technology is always changing, it's ever evolving. That is the beauty and the greatness of technology, and as a result, policy and community rules and guidelines are always changing because technology is changing based upon the way that people are using technology. So every time there's a D-Nice, natural, organic moment that just opens up the gates of like a social media tech platform, then there has to be new policy and community guideline discussions that have to be had within like the big tech firms. And then also too, like how then can individuals like D-Nice who are out there or other small business content creators out there, how can they monetize what they're doing? And so that's always an ongoing conversation because technology can create a movement like D-Nice, just as it can create a movement of other content creators out there currently. And so there's always going to be this evolution of technology, movement, social platforms, monetization, along with rules and policies that needs to be updated constantly.
Yeah, and D-Nice, you helped spur the last move. You done so many things that you don't even know how you helped out folks, man. Give it up for D-Nice.
Thank you, man.
Absolutely. We're about to close the show. I'm going to close the show with your song, No Plans for Love. It's available now, correct? And
correct. It's out now.
If folks, man, support this man. He's been in the soundtrack of our lives for the past couple of years, and you've been in our DNA of therapy. So I just want to say I appreciate you. Can't wait to get you in the studio, and we could go back to those follow-up questions and relive some of those early moments when you and Heather B were Boogie Down Production.
Oh, no, I'd love that.
Okay, that would be great. But
bring your spades game.
Bring your spades game.
I'll bring that spade game.
Bring that spade game, man.
Yo, let me before you introduce the song, let me just tell you about one of the spade games where me and my buddy Scotty, manager Mo, used to manage BDP. Scotty was my partner, and I took a can of Campbell soup, and I had somebody print a logo to put on there where it was a can of whoop ass. Went over to play spades with you guys, and we lost the game. And I can't remember if it was you and Rich or somebody was like, well, they took the can. Like, yo, we lost the can. Yo, we serious about these spades games,
the spade game. We snatched the can.
Yo.
Hey, man. Yo. We got to get back to that, man. Love you too, D.
Love you too.
Man, y'all give it up for D-Nice.